Hey, welcome everybody to Sunday night in our prophecy update. And it's kind of strange, but these things really are happening. There's one in particular that helps us to understand the days that we live in. But first of all, think about this. In Isaiah chapter 61, it begins with this prophecy that Jesus read in Nazareth, when after he read it, he says, these words are proclaimed in your presence. Then they wanted to kill him, right? Remember that? And then he stopped. Notice this, chapter 61 of Isaiah, the Bible says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because the Lord has anointed me to preach the good tidings to the poor, for he has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and the opening of the prison to those who are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. And then Jesus stopped there. Remember that? And he says, hey, this is being fulfilled today in your presence. They didn't like that. And then the very next part of verse 2 says this, and the day of vengeance of our God. Why did Jesus stop there and now say the day of vengeance? Because the day of vengeance is coming. What's interesting is you read the rest of this section here, it all starts to come together for something we see happening right now. In the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. Okay, you stop there, you go, wait a minute. Israel, the Jews are not called trees of righteousness yet. Remember, even while they're sinning, Ezekiel chapter 36, God says, I bring them back, even though you've profaned my name, because my name is on the covenant. So when does Israel become the trees of righteousness? And then the rest of it we're going to read. After Jesus comes back, at the end of the tribulation period. Listen to how it continues. They shall rebuild the old ruins, they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the ruined cities, the desolations of many generations. Strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the foreigner shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. But you shall be named the priests of the Lord. They shall call you the servants of our God. You shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory you shall boast. Okay, ultimately, all of this is fulfilled in the millennial kingdom after Jesus comes back. But think of this. He says, foreigners are going to tend to your vineyards. That's just one aspect. The old ruins are going to be rebuilt. It even says here, raise up the former desolations, repair the old ruins and the ruined cities. We are already watching that happen, and we are already watching, this is really cool, the foreigners tending the vineyards in Israel. Listen, you guys know this, I've said it many times. I went and visited Tommy Waller and the Israel guys, and Josh Waller's going to be delivering one of the messages for us in Texas at the Texas conference from the Israel guys. But went there and just had a great time with Nate Waller and Tommy Waller and the whole team, but talking about the vineyards. And Tommy Waller moved to that area of Mount Gerizim, the whole area around Shechem, several years ago. Moved his family when the kids were little. And that's what they do. They're Gentiles that have come to the land. They were foreigners, and they're tending the vineyards. And I'm not saying that prophecy is fulfilled in its entirety right now, but anyone who goes to the land of Israel, all of you who are going with us in October or maybe in 2026, you will see it. You will see vineyards everywhere. And where the Wallers are, they're growing these vineyards for the Sukkot winery. You probably have heard of that, but you look and you see, what does the Bible say about these vineyards growing for the joy of the people? But in the last days, these things are going to be coming back, even with the help of foreigners. Listen, it's not fulfilled in its entirety yet, but friends, I'm telling you, it is exciting. Everywhere you go in Israel, you see these things. Okay, there's much more here. Check this out. It says, they shall call you the servants of our God. You shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory you shall boast. Instead of your shame, you shall have double honor, and instead of confusion, they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land they shall possess double. Everlasting joy shall be theirs. I, the Lord, love justice. All right, I'm going to stop here, because what is happening right now is the beginning of we're leading up to the day of vengeance, right? Verse 2, we just read that. And also we can already see the ruined places being rebuilt, the incredible archaeology, unbelievable things that have been discovered just in the last year alone. And then the vineyards, like like Tommy Waller and the Israel guys out there with Nate and the whole team, just growing these. You go, this is amazing. They're all pointing to the coming of the Lord, but it's also pointing to this day of vengeance that will get Israel's attention. I want you to think about this, all right? Sharia law has come to Dearborn, Michigan. Check this out. The police department introduces a patch in Arabic. You've got to be kidding me. No, I'm not kidding you. Friends, it's like Dearborn, Michigan is gone. We're watching what's been happening over in the UK and different parts of Europe. Europe is starting to wake up, but it looks like parts of the US have fallen. They have come to bring Sharia law. So there it is, Dearborn, Michigan. Okay, now ready for this? Just think of that. I want you to watch this because the lies are unbelievable. Check this out. This is Hamas. What are they doing? They're actually beating the people of Gaza. Not Israel, not the IDF, no matter what the lies say, they're beating the people of Gaza who come to get food. Watch this short video.
الله أكبر يلا يا فندم
All right, listen, you saw that. Listen, here's a fact, Jack. No matter how much evidence, people will refuse to believe the truth. It was Yuri Bezmenov, the Soviet defector, who said several years ago, I have the video, I showed it at conferences before, but when a culture has been compromised by immorality, facts won't matter. Indeed, facts don't matter. I've quoted this several times lately. 98% of the mainstream media, up until just a few months ago, came from Hamas, but they were reporting it everywhere. That the IDF was killing people, killing teenagers, and then you get the Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens that go on record and say they're really doing it. It's lies, 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 lies. And there you just saw the video too. Lies, lies, lies. It's all we hear is lies. The devil is a liar and the father of lies. Either you believe in the God of the Bible, or who is your father? I mean, you look at this, and you think of the words of Jesus. Either you're for me or against me. There's no in between, right? Last week, I reported that Hamas, actually, it was their leader. What was his name? I'm trying to get what his name was. He ran the propaganda machine. Abu Ubaidah, as I believe his name was. So he ran the propaganda machine for Hamas. He had 1,500 reporters and propagandists taking pictures, fake pictures, starving, giving reports that it was actually the IDF that was killing the teenagers. 1,500 reporters, and the West has eaten it up, crammed the lies down everybody's throat. It's just absolutely appalling. No wonder why. Reported this too, 50% of Americans now think that America's committing genocide in Gaza. I mean, it's because we have these lies that are out there and people are believing the lies. Okay, with that, check this out. To me, this is absolutely just totally fascinating. It's a video really just helps to understand things with an illustration that communicates the facts in an incredible way. Watch this video.
I keep seeing memes like this that Jews should leave to the moon or that Israel should be on the moon. Let's just pretend for a second that every Jew left to the moon. All the doctors, all the innovators, all the scientists. Well, immediately people would be very happy. You'd see people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Jake Shields consider this a big win. They would rejoice. The evil Jew people can't control them anymore. Now, within a short time, the moon would become very technologically advanced. And in fact, Earth would become very jealous of it. It wouldn't take long for Earth to send people up to the moon and claim that they're truly indigenous to it and that the Jews are occupying it. Within a short time, they would probably attack the moon. And they would lose. And then they would blame the moon for the war. Despite the attacks on the moon, the Jews would say, you can still come live here if you want to coexist. But people wouldn't accept that. They would still call them occupiers and say that they deserve all the moon, that there is no opportunity for coexistence with Jews on the moon, that it belongs to Earth. Within a short time, certain religions would take advantage of democracy and propagate throughout Western civilization, utterly destroying it. But so long as they could keep attention on the moon, people wouldn't care. They would accept it. In fact, they would blame the moon people for all the terrorism, all the extremism that takes place on Earth. With the Earth's final moments, with its last breath, it would look up into the sky and see the moon with all its achievements, all its technology, its peace, and they would cry out and blame the moon for their own destruction.
Brilliant. By the way, that is a fact in Jewish history. Every nation that's kicked our people, our ancestors out, has come to regret it.
All right, I mean, you look at that, yeah. I mean, you know that. If the Jews went to the moon, what would matter? That was great. All right, now check this out. Something else here. There's a coalition that is building against the U.S. and Israel should the U.S. veto any establishment for the UN's proposals for this two-state solution, you know, that kind of nonsense. All right, so you look at that and you go, wow, it's building, it's growing and growing and growing, and guess what? Jill Stein, that's right, Jill Stein, a Jewish former congresswoman or senator or whatever she was, is leading the charge on this for the U.S. It's a Jew against the Jews to come against Israel. This is what they want. They want Israel to just perpetually deal with the terrorists, and eventually that they would just wipe out the land, the people of Israel, get rid of the Jews. We know it is demonic, but that's the reality of the things that we see that are taking place. And then what else do we have here? Here's the other reality of it. And again, why did I read that passage in the beginning? Because Jesus came the first time, partway through verse 2, he stopped the year of vengeance, declaring the year of vengeance. That's still coming. That's his second coming. And then all of the other things that we see unfolding regarding Israel. And we know this also regarding Israel in Daniel chapter 12. God says, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to, when it comes to the holy people, I'm going to shatter their stubbornness. And I'm going to draw them to me, that they would look upon him whom they pierced. And that day is coming at the end of the tribulation period. But here's something else that's absolutely fascinating. Check this out. Huckabee says the U.S. is not opposed to Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. I mean, you look at this and you go, I don't care what anybody says. I know what this book says. God gave Judea and Samaria to Israel, to the Jews. It's not Palestine. That was done by the Romans in 135 AD under the time of Hadrian to humiliate the Jews. It's just absolute, these things are just absolute lies. Nevertheless, it is a land that God gave to the people of Israel, and Huckabee totally gets it. This article says Ambassador Huckabee to Israel said Washington has not opposed Israeli moves to apply sovereignty to parts of Judea and Samaria. Comments that come as the debate over annexation reemerges inside the government. Prime Minister Netanyahu convened top ministers this week to discuss applying sovereignty to parts of the territory before switching the discussion to focus on the security crisis in Judea and Samaria as the Palestinian Authority is on the brink of collapse. And then earlier this week, Finance Minister Smotrich unveiled the plan to annex 82% of Judea and Samaria, a move he argued would prevent the establishment of Palestinian state. And on Friday, Channel 14 reporter out of Israel, Timur Morag, posted a quote from Huckabee stating that the U.S. has never asked Israel to not apply sovereignty. I look at that and go, yeah, indeed. So the PA is ready on collapse is what they're saying in Judea and Samaria, which means what? Hamas just comes in, the people get more and more radicalized. You got Hebron in Judea, which is a stronghold. You have Shechem or Shechem in Samaria, which is the stronghold. You have those two areas. And so you know that these terrorists are looking at this going, okay, the PA collapses. And the PA is a problem itself, by the way, the Palestinian Authority. What's Israel going to do? Israel needs to apply sovereignty to it. Israel will not have peace, the Ezekiel 38 peace, for example, until they've got control over Gaza, Judea, and Samaria. But now we have this with Jill Stein saying, hey, well, the UN, this is exactly what she said in the article I showed you. The UN needs to come in and be the ones who keep peace in Gaza. Friends, you can't make this stuff up. This is unbelievable. Israel's back is up against the wall, and you see all of this maneuvering that is coming against the land of Israel. What for? For fake peace. Everybody knows it's fake peace. The UN in Gaza, oh, listen, something's going to happen. It's not a coincidence that we see the ruins being rebuilt, we see the discoveries in archaeology that are phenomenal, that we see like Tommy Waller and family going over and starting to tend the vineyards, the foreigners tending the vineyards. Listen, it's all going to be fulfilled in the tribulation period. Friends, we live in absolutely amazing days, and to look at this and say, this is truly amazing, but at the same time, we need to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, right? Because Israel, look, when you see what's coming, it's horrible, but at the same time, we know it means their redemption. We are witnessing a move, not fulfilled yet, where Israel is being moved to that place of redemption, where God is going to be glorified. Jesus is coming back. Listen, let's roll right now with the life of David. It's going to be a great time with the life of David. And listen, join us in Texas. I have an Israel tour in October is full, but you can check out 26 if you want. 2026, we have a couple then. But listen, join us in Texas for the live stream. Going to be incredible. We have 2 combined conferences for the permanent video series. It's going to also include all of the messages from our 4 Israeli friends, including Chaim Mailspin and also Josh Waller. It's going to be amazing. Okay, God bless you guys. Let's roll with the life of David. All right, welcome everybody to Sunday Night with the Life of David. And by the way, just a reminder, we have the live stream. For Texas, it is going to be absolutely over the top. As we think of all the different speakers that are going to be in Texas, Olivier Melnick, Dr. Andy Woods, Dr. Hormuz Sharia from Iran Alive is going to be joining us, Eric Stackelbeck, Pete Garcia, and then joining us via video, streaming from Israel, Chaim Mailspin. Looks like he's going to be joining us actually from Gaza. We have also joining us will be Roddy Harrell, Edom Pincus will be joining us from the Old City, Josh Waller from the Israel guys, man, it's going to be over the top. And then also what we're doing is not just the live stream. So if you get the live stream, you'll be able to see everything live. But we also have a permanent package. It's all going to be a permanent package. And you'll be able to, after the conference is over, we're going to have included in that permanent package is going to be the Shabbat dinner, the Q&A that we're going to have on Friday night for the Shabbat dinner with the different speakers. It's going to be great, just an off-the-cuff kind of thing. And then we're also including all of Santa Barbara, the entire Santa Barbara conference, Pastor Brandon Holthouse, David Tal, James Panafino, James Cadiz, and myself. So you get all of Santa Barbara, you get Shabbat dinner, and all of the Texas conference just for the one shot, just for registering for the live stream. So it's going to be great. I encourage you to go for it. And right now, let's get going with the life of David. So you guys ready? All right. Today we're dealing with problems on the inside. Got problems on the outside, got problems on the inside. And the first thing we're going to notice is the discontent people. Let's pick it up. 2 Samuel chapter 19, beginning of verse 40. Let me tell you, this is really great message. I love doing these messages in David because this is just the things you don't really get that often. So many of these things are just skipped when it comes to sermons and teaching the Bible. But verse 40 says, now the king, that would be David, went on to Gilgal, and Chimham, remember Chimham? So Chimham, last time we saw, was Barzillai's son, and David has now made his way back to Jerusalem, and the whole thing with Mephibosheth and all that. Okay, remember that. If you forgot it, go back, check out last week. But right now, Chimham, he went on with David, and all the people of Judah escorted the king, and also half the people of Israel. Okay, what's going on here? It's going to get really weird here in just a second, trust me. Just then, all the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, why have our brethren, the men of Judah, stolen you away and brought the king, his household, and all David's men with him across the Jordan? Wait a minute, what's going on here? All right, I told you it's going to get weird. Verse 42. So all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, because the king is a close relative of ours. Why then are you angry over this matter? Have you ever eaten at the king's expense, or has he given us any gift? And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, we have 10 shares in the king. Therefore, we also have more right to David than you do. Why then do you despise us? Were we not the first to advise bringing back our king? Yet the words of the men of Judah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel. All right, what on earth is going on here? So last time we saw that not everybody in Israel wanted King David back. This time they're all fighting about David, saying, well, we've all demanded that he comes back. So what in the world is really going on? It helps us to understand the 12 tribes of Jacob, right? So Jacob is the father of the 12 sons, the 12 tribes of Israel. His name in the book of Genesis was changed from Jacob to Israel. Nevertheless, you see those names change, interchangeable, Jacob or Israel. When you see Jacob later on, you realize, okay, when Jacob returns to Jerusalem, for example, it's talking about the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes. Okay, now one of the 12 tribes of Jacob, or the 12 tribes of Israel, is Judah, and Judah is the tribe that David descended from, also, by the way, the tribe that Jesus descended from. After the death of David's son Solomon, the greater kingdom of Israel became split. So 10 tribes went north, 2 tribes stayed south. The 2 tribes of the south were Judah and Benjamin, and the other tribes would be located in the north. And here's a map, kind of gives you an idea of what it looked like at that time as you have the split of the 2 kingdoms. So we see the fighting way back at the time of David over what in the world is really going on. So David is, the tribe of Judah are saying, listen, David is our blood relative. Why would you guys have an issue with that? He's of us. Remember, it was Judah who had David as their king first in Hebron, or Hebron, for the first 7.5 years before the other tribes of Israel would even recognize him. After and then come along the death of Saul, and then things came together. So you look at this and you start to think, okay, what in the world is really going on here? But I'll tell you right now, let's just bring it up to date, current for us, right? Today, it seems the 2 biggest problems Israel has, it's not with the enemies that are trying to destroy them on the outside physically, like with missiles and rockets and bullets, right? Israel has proven itself absolutely exceptional in all of those things. It's like whoever comes against Israel, Israel defeats them. It's amazing to watch. Israel's 2 biggest problems are this. It's the propaganda from the outside. That's why you have all the anti-Semitism. You have this massive propaganda that is against Israel. That's one aspect. The other aspect is like it was in the days of David. It is the infighting. In fact, the same thing was going on, not just the time of David, but after the return of the Babylonian captivity, of time of Nehemiah. Nehemiah was dealing with the outside problem, which was also propaganda and wars, people trying to actually physically take out the returning people of Israel, returning Jews to Jerusalem at the time of Nehemiah, but also was the infighting during the time of Nehemiah. Israel still has this, the propaganda, the lies that are being said about them. and the internal problems, the infighting. So you have the outside and you have the problems on the inside. All right. So as you look at this, it says, okay, Judah with half the tribes of Israel are escorting David back into the land. All of Israel is upset. They're saying, what in the world, do you have a right to do this, Judah? And Judah answers more fiercely. In other words, it tells us here, Judah, yet the words of the men of Judah at the end of verse 43 were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel. As you look at this dynamic, they confront them. The men of Israel said, hey, there's 10 shares. In other words, there's 10 tribes of us. You guys only have Judah and Benjamin in the southern area, the area of Judah. Therefore, we should have more of David. The fact is that the truth is going to come out, what is really going on here with these people of Israel and they got the infighting going on against David. We're going to see the truth of that in just a minute, but let's just get a couple of faith lessons here before we even move on anymore. First faith lesson is this. It's to be content with to be content is a choice, excuse me. So the people of Israel, they're not content. They're not happy. Well, why is Judah getting this and we're not getting that, right? That kind of thought when it comes to King David, all right? But to be content is a choice. Look at this. Check this out. Philippians chapter 4. Beginning in verse 11, the Apostle Paul writes, I have learned that in whatever state I am in, to be content. I know how to be abased and I know how to abound. I know how to be content when things are not going good for me and when things are going good for me. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Listen, to be content is a choice. I've learned, it's through the hard things in life that we learn to be content. And, when things aren't going well, when you're younger, it's like, I can't believe it, the whole world's against me. Then you realize everybody goes through stuff and you make a choice on how you're going to respond to the stuff you go through. So you have this infighting going on. Well, what about the people of Judah? Well, what about the people over here? What about the people over there? Blah, 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 right? I heard, speaking of content, it was a story long ago about this man, and he's the welcomer into the town when people used to travel by train all the time, and he would welcome people who are getting off the train as they're coming to their new town, and this man gets off the train. And the welcomer, he is there and he says, hello there, my name is so-and-so, welcome to the city. And the man says, oh, it's great to be here. This looks like such a lovely town. Can't wait to just live here and start my life all over again. And so the welcomer says, well, tell me about the town that you are from, the place that you are leaving. He says, oh, the town, the people were awful. They were mean. The town looked terrible. This was going on and that was going on. I couldn't stand that place. I am so glad to leave that place and glad to be here. Oh, says the welcomer. He says, listen, I'm afraid to tell you this, but this town that you have come to is just like the town that you left. I recommend you get back on the train and you look for another town. So the man gets on train and he leaves. All right, next day somebody else gets off the train and they say, hey, oh, I'm so excited to be here. And the welcomer says, oh, that's wonderful. You're going to relocate? Yeah, I'm going to relocate. Well, tell me about the town that you are leaving. Oh, let me tell you, the town that we left, it was the most beautiful town. It was pretty everywhere, and the people were so nice and but we just hated to leave that town, but it was really the most wonderful place. Oh, welcome. You're going to find out that this town that you have just arrived at is just like the town that you left. You're going to be blessed here. So much of it, it's attitude, right? It's understanding that principle. Listen, someone well said, a man is happy so long as he chooses to be happy. I love that story about the train. I think it's just great. And it's so true. It's how we think. It is a choice to be content, a choice to be happy. A man is happy so long as he chooses to be happy. Let's get second faith lesson. It's not all about you, nor is it about me. So these men are arguing about whether or not they have the right relationship with David, whether or not it's what they should have. Well, we should have this. There's 10 of us and only 2 of you. And the people, Jews, say, well, wait a minute, we're blood. We should have this relationship with him. But soon their true colors are going to show. What did they really mean? Why did they really have an issue with the tribe of Judah? We'll get there in just a few more minutes. Soon they're going to have the opportunity to rally and rebel against David. Right now they're saying, oh, we love David. I can't believe it. Look what you get. Oh, they're going to have the opportunity to rally and rebel against David, and they will. The fact of the matter is, as much as they made it sound like it was all about honoring the king, they went into their own self-righteous stuff, and we desire to honor the king. It was really about their own selfish interests that they had going on. For them, it was all about me, it was about myself, and it was about I. Wrapped up in the holy spiritual language. We want our share of time with the king. What they really were was just jealous and mad and angry. They didn't care about the king. They didn't like the king. They didn't want anything to do with him. Listen, sometimes for us, we get tested in what we do have and what we don't have, the blessings and the cursings. We get tested in all the different things that come our way, and they reveal our true colors. And God reminds us it's not about us, it's about him. These people said it was about, King David in that case, but it really wasn't. They had their own stuff going on. People do that. They'll say they follow the Lord. They'll say they love the Lord. They go to church. They do this and that. Got to be careful. Also, we got to be careful about judging other people. Sometimes we can get all into our own self little bubble and say, I don't go to this church over here because of those people. Well, I don't hang out with those people over there. Well, they don't think the exact same way I do. Well, or whatever it is. And we can get in our own self-righteous bubble. We forget it's about the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And we also forget it's about the hope of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, let's move on. So the first thing we saw was number 1. It was the discontent people. The second thing we see, it is the divided kingdom, all right? So let's go there, because now the true colors start to show up. Chapter 20, verses 1 and 2. If there happened to be there a rebel whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite, and he blew a trumpet and said, we have no share in David. So wait a minute, wasn't Benjamin with Judah and with David? What's going on here? We have no share in David, nor do we have inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tents, O Israel. So every man of Israel deserted David. So now you get a shift to the northern kingdom, or the other tribes, right? That are going along with this rebel from the tribe of Benjamin, from the southern tribes. So every man of Israel deserted David and followed Sheba, the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah from the Jordan as far as Jerusalem remain loyal to their king. You start to see what's happening. I thought they all said they loved David. Talks cheap. The Lord even warns us, you draw near to me with your lips, but your hearts are far from me. Now David, he came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and put them in seclusion and supported them, but did not go into them. So they were shut up to the day of their death, living in widowhood. So, I mean, just real quick, yes, the various things that are going on here. We're going to come back to the Sheba thing coming against David, but right here, we suddenly realize when David comes back to Jerusalem, you have the concubines there, and David, he's confronted with this. All of this stuff happened because David sins with women. That's where it all began, back with Bathsheba, and it's festered. And then the other women and all of this other stuff, and the stuff that went wrong. And David, he comes back to Jerusalem. There's the women, my trouble, this is how it began. So he just says, okay, no more sex. That's what he's saying about these 10 women here. They're going to go away and just, I got problems. It's like confronted with the reality of why he still has all of these different problems. It's the reminder that we reap what. So David's reminded of all these sort of details. All right, let's get on with here, because now it's going to get to Sheba again. All right, verse 4. I tell you, this is fascinating. And the king said to Amasa, assemble the men of Judah for me within 3 days, and be present here yourself. So David says to Amasa, it's urgent. And Amasa, he went to assemble the men of Judah, but he delayed longer than the set time which David had appointed him. And David said to Abishai, now Sheba the son of Bichri will do us more harm than Absalom. Take your Lord's servants and pursue him, lest he find for himself fortified cities and escape us. All right, so David's going, okay, I had problems with Absalom. I come back, and there's this rebellion on the inside. All kinds of internal strife is going on. And this guy who's of the tribe of Benjamin has rallied the troops of Israel to come against me. Abishai, we got to deal something with this problem. Note that Sheba, he denies the king's sovereignty. It's like, no, we're not recognizing you as king. We have no share in David, said way back in verse 1. Nor do we have inheritance of the son of Jesse. We don't recognize David as king. I mean, man, David had a lot of problems. And I think a lot of people just think David just rose up and everything was glorious. No, man, he had some issues. Listen, Sheba, what he does, just like the devil himself, he takes advantage of the people's discontent. Believe the people of Judah, you guys ushered David back in. We should have ushered him back in, right? So they're going back and forth. Sheba sees that. They got this discontent. They got internal strife. Let's take advantage of it. Listen, you go to October 7. What was happening? You see the attempt as Israel's having its internal strife. The enemy sought to take advantage of that. Even now, Israel has some internal strife going on within their leadership, within the government. And you realize what was happening back then is still happening now. Not all of the tribes are getting along with each other. In fact, even some that should have been with David. Now we don't recognize him as king. Man. So this is how the enemy of our soul works, right? So in this case, what do we see? We just see Sheba takes advantage of the tribes of Israel and their discontent. Not only do we see history repeating itself over the land of Israel right now, but it is within us the same way. It's in our discontent. The enemy sees that, and he pounces on these things, and we start to say, oh, things aren't going the way that they should go. I think they should go like this. I think God should do this. I can't believe God hasn't done that. And then we start to blame God, and then the enemy gets in there, and then we start to justify actions that take us away from the Lord, and then we blame God for whatever it is. The enemy of our souls gets into our head when we allow the emotions to overtake us. Instead of trusting that God is good, trusting He has a plan, trusting in His word, all right? Notice also what else Sheba does. As he declares independence from the king, I already mentioned this, he says, nor do we have inheritance with the son of Jesse. In other words, we have no attachment to this man that the people call king. We are constantly and consistently like this. We are bombarded with messages that declare independence from the Lord. Listen, be careful. We have this thing here in the U.S., it comes across totally wrong, but we hear it all the time. Well, separation of church and state. That was intended to mean that the state can't get in and tell you how to run your church. But the way that spin is on, oh no, if you believe in the Bible, you can't bring your Bible into anything. You got to keep it out of everything. Got to keep it out of the courts. Got to keep it out of schools. Got to keep it out of politics. I mean, that's what they tell you. But that's a lie of the enemy. Right? It's this kind of thinking. We're constantly and consistently bombarded with messages that declare independence from the Lord. Don't bring the Lord into this. Don't bring the Lord into that. So we see what Sheba did. He declares independence from the king. He also, he drew others with him. He says, hey, look at this again. So every man of Israel deserted David and followed Sheba, right? They're going, hey, we're going to go with David also, except for Judah. They all did. Note that the rebellion, like any rebellion, requires cooperation of the people. Any rebellion against the Lord. The people were discontent. Things weren't going as they wanted. David was not leading the way that they wanted. David was just kicked out by Absalom, who tried to kill him. David is coming back in. They had this great and incredible king. And that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted, who they want? Absalom? The evil man? Now they want Sheba, an even more evil man? It's funny how people are this way. They weren't getting the positions they deserved, right? Why does Judah get this? We should have that. They weren't getting the attention from the king. Listen, when you're discontent, you're easily manipulated. Finally, we know with Sheba, he was defeated by a wise woman. Look at this. Kind of cool. So Joab's men, with the Cherethites, the Pelethites, and all the mighty men, they went out after, after Sheba, right? And they went out to Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. When they were at the large stone, which is in Gibeon, Amasa came before them. Now Joab was dressed in battle armor. On it was a belt with a sword fastened in its sheath at his hips. And as he was going toward it, fell out. Then Joab said to Amasa, "Are you in health, my brother?" And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa did not notice the sword that was in Joab's hand. And he struck him with it in the stomach, and his entrails poured out on the ground. In other words, his guts came out, right? His entrails poured out on the ground, and he did not strike him again. He died. It was just one pretty fierce blow from Joab. Then Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. Continues, meanwhile, one of Joab's men stood before Amasa and said, "Whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, follow Joab." But Amasa wallowed in his blood in the middle of the highway. And when the man saw that all the people stood still, he moved Amasa from the highway to the field and threw a garment over him. When he saw that everyone who came upon him halted. In other words, everybody's following Joab, and they left him there for dead. Instead of everybody with Joab and Abishai, they're going, oh man, they see his dead guy and his guts are hanging out. They freeze. Kind of like when you come on a traffic accident that's on the other side of the freeway. People stop on this side of the freeway, right? So they move his body off the highway. You get it, right? Wow. And when they removed from the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. Yuck. Okay, let's get through this because, right, we're almost done here. Check it out, verse 14. And he went through all the tribes of Israel to Abel and Beth Makkah and all the Beerites. So they were gathered together and also went after Sheba. Then they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth Makkah, and they cast up a siege mound against the city and stood by the rampart. And all the people who were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. Then a wise woman cried out from the city, "Hear, hear, please say to Joab, come nearby that I may speak with you." When he had come near to hear to her, the woman, she said, "Are you Joab?" And he said, Are you Joab? He answered, "I am." And then she said to him, "Hear the words of your maidservant." And he answered, "I am listening." So she spoke, saying, "They used to talk in former times, saying, they shall surely seek guidance at Abel, and so they would end disputes." Okay? I'm almost done. Verse 19. I am among the peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why would you swallow up the inheritance of the Lord? And Joab answered and said, far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy
That is not so. But a man from the mountains of Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Bichri by name, has raised his hand against the king, against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city. So the woman said to Joab, watch, his head will be thrown to you over the wall. Right? This woman, she was, mess with her. Wow. Then the woman, in her wisdom, went to all the people, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and threw it out to Joab. And then he blew a trumpet, and they withdrew from the city, every man to his tent. So Joab returned to the king of Jerusalem, and Joab was over all the army of Israel. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and the Perethites and so forth. And you look at this and go, man, this is just really something else. Man, this woman was, wow, she had it going on. I'll take care of this problem. Go chop off his head, throw it over the wall. We're going to have peace. Number 3, third faith lesson. Let's just get through the faith lessons here, right? Nobody is safe when they rebel against God's will, right? Keep that in mind. In the Old Testament, book of Exodus, Korah's rebellion, right? You had that. And then here in 2 Samuel, we have Absalom's rebellion. And then here also in 2 Samuel, we have Sheba's rebellion. Nobody is safe when they rebel against God's will. Proverbs chapter 6, beginning in verse 12, says, a worthless person, a wicked man, points with his fingers. He devises evil continually. He sows discord. Therefore, his calamity shall come suddenly. Sometimes you look, you go, I can't believe they're getting away with this. Trust God in the process. Trust him in the process. Fourth faith lesson, disunity is of the devil. Unity is of the Lord. Keep that in mind. Proverbs chapter 6, beginning of verse 16 says, these 6 things the Lord hates, yes, 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord or disunity among the brethren. Wow. I've met many people in churches over the years that go about sowing disunity. God says, I hate that. Those who sow disunity among the brethren. Flip side, Psalm chapter 133, Verse 1 says, behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity. And in Ephesians chapter 4, beginning in verse 1, Paul writes, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you to walk worthy of the calling with which you were called, with all lowliness and gentleness, with long suffering, bearing with one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Amen. Final faith lesson for this time with David today and all these things that are going on here is this. Number 5, it's not about you or me, but it is all about Jesus. Friends, we can get so selfish and so focused on ourselves and demand the things that we want to be, or we can even get to this place in our discontent where we don't honor the Lord. And we start complaining about the things that God has given us. We can complain about the weather. Listen, okay, you get the weather manipulation and that kind of stuff, right? You see these weird things going on. But ultimately, who's in control? God is in control. God says everything is going to go this particular way. This is the path. This is what men are going to do. But in the meantime, worship me, know me. Be surrendered to me. In fact, the Bible even tells us, book of James chapter 5. He says, the day of the Lord is at hand. Therefore, be patient. And then when he talks about those who have victory and seem to have all of the riches and the things of this world, he says, God is judge and they will have their day in court. But you and me, let's be patient. And let's press forward in the ways of the Lord. We're being tested. We get hard pressed sometimes. Sometimes we bounce. Sometimes we get abased. But we still recognize, Lord, let me be a person that is set apart for you, and recognize it's not about me. It is about Jesus. And we also need to recognize that there's a world of people out there that need the hope of the Lord Jesus Christ. As I think of the different things that we talk about, here's the life of David. We have prophecy updates that I do all the time. Ultimately, the prophecy updates help us to understand that the Bible is true and that you can trust it. We can see things developing the way that the prophets said they were going to. It's not for sensationalism. It's for the glory of Jesus. Ultimately, the prophecy, rightly taught and rightly understood, should lead a person to the place of going, oh, wow, that's what this is about. It points us back to his word being true. And then ultimately, it reminds us, when you go to study the Bible, wait a minute, all the prophecies of the first coming of Christ are true. We are saved by grace through faith. And since all these things are true, we recognize, oh, I'm a sinner. I need to have the forgiveness of the Lord Jesus Christ. Listen, as we look at these different things develop, we also know this. 2 Peter said, since all these things will be, the prophecies will be fulfilled. Therefore, what manner of persons ought you to be in holy conduct and godliness, looking for and hastening the coming of the day of God, living for him, surrendered to him, not being like Sheba saying, I'm not going to have this king over me, and coming to a place with your discontent and allowing the enemy to enter into your heart and get your eyes off the Lord. No, focus on the Lord. Trust in the Lord. Be surrendered to the Lord, for he is king. God bless you guys.